Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter what time of day it is where you're at. We hope you've had a wonderful week, and we really appreciate you joining us again for this week's episode, where I think we've got another really great topic. So, Cheryl, why don't you start out, tell a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today?
Okay, we're going to try to talk people through the journey of what how to take into the journey, and that's what it is when you get into business. You're taking your journey, but you need to take the customer through a journey also. And hopefully, by the end of this webinar, we can actually have given them some ideas between podcast and webinars. Sorry, they all get mumbled up sometime.
That's it. So, Brandy, what would be your input about today's topic? Because I know it always fires you up. We've been talking about it for a couple of days. So, what's your input as we talk today?
Yeah, I'm excited to go through the actual journey because I think that people forget about the steps before and after. And also because I think it's such an easy thing to do today. In today's world, so many contractors never return your call, they never get a bid back to you. You call their office and you can't reach anybody. So, taking the customer through a successful world class journey is so easy.
Right. And I want you to think when you look at this screen right now, you're seeing, and I'm just going to classify it, three very picky people. We are people that we don't mind paying for services. We don't mind paying for products. In fact, Brandon's going to tell you a little bit about a contractor right now starting a project next week, which isn't this first one at our home. But what we're looking for is someone that does what they say they're going to do when they say we're going to do it. So stick around with us. We're going to play this. We got a brand new intro courtesy of one of our people, Jonathan Sanders. So check this new intro out, folks. So anyway, I really appreciate Jonathan putting that together for us. We wanted something a little bit different, so a couple takes on that. So, hey, Jonathan, we got a lot of our past guests up there. So today's subject matter is how to manage the customer journey. And as we go into this, I want to share a thought with you. Which it is. One of the mentors, one of the coaches I've worked with in the past, have wrote a book, and the name of this book is Customer satisfaction is worthless. Customer loyalty is priceless. And some years ago, a guy that was in the chimney service industry that influenced a lot of people, his name was Sooty Bob Daniels, told us at that time that the lifetime value of a customer was in excess of $30,000. Well, that was back in the 1990s. And if we reflect into that today, that customer could be worth easily $100,000 a day when we look at inflation. So what we've got to do to be successful in business, we got to be on a path not only to build satisfied customers, but we're going to build loyal customers. And what's a loyal customer? Somebody that does business with us over and over again. But even more than that, I've used a word for years called the enthused customer. And what's an enthused customer? The enthused customer is the customer that tells everybody how great you are. Because once a customer tells you that, it makes it the truth. Now, you can tell people all over, every day how great you are, but the problem is that's actually bragging. But whenever customers say it, all of a sudden it becomes a fact, it becomes true. So to do that, what you've got to do is manage that customer experience, that customer journey. You see, when you look out there in the world, you have what I'm going to identify as a suspect. And a suspect is somebody that just may buy what you offer. And the goal of marketing is to turn a suspect into a prospect. So for the purpose of today, we're going to take it from the prospect. We're not going to talk about marketing and how to get the phone to ring, how to get the emails to come in, how to get the chat started. That's now started. But the problem is often the customer is disappointed moving forward. So, Brandy, let's go to you. You run an office there in Kansas City and Flues Brothers. And one of the things that you're doing is you are managing this customer journey. And that's also what you work with our clients that you coach one-on-one with. So, how do you start this customer journey in the right way?
Well, the customer journey actually begins long before the customer ever calls your office. So, for example, if I'm looking for a plumber, probably a couple names are going to pop into my head that I've seen their trucks around town. So they're really well branded. Probably a couple names are going to pop into my head because I've had friends or family that have used them and had either a great experience or a negative experience. Next, I'm probably going to go on Google and read, search for plumbers Kansas City and read the different Google reviews, see how many they have, how the company responds to them, and then probably also go take a look at their website. Is there somebody on their website that I can chat with and get some questions answered before I even call in? Is their website well put together? Are all the pages and links working? So the experience really starts long before they ever call into that office to make an appointment. Do you want me to go further than that, Jerry, into other processes, or wait there?
Let's wait there because I want to take it through the steps of that initial phone call and what we're going to do between that initial phone call to when we first arrive at the house, or if you're in a retail environment, when they first walk into your showroom, into your store, because I want to base it on both ways there. So Cheryl, what's your thoughts, initial thoughts on this? And you are a picky customer. In fact, right now, you're getting ready to have some new flooring put down in 3 rooms in our home. And you're someone that wants it done right, like we talked about before. So how does this company start this customer journey for you? They've just, you made the initial phone call. How do they make you this enthused customer on the other end?
Well, we had the phone call. We actually started him with a different situation by bringing in to look at your floor, but then we sent him upstairs to look at the areas I wanted up here. But he measured, he got back to me with his estimate. We've probably had 10 to 15 emails. So he has helped me through the steps of exactly what I wanted. There's different kinds of flooring that I was looking at. So the questions were to him, what, in your opinion, which is best? And so he's been very open with me. He's told me what he's thought. He's told me what he didn't like, which is actually more important to me than what you do like, because he deals with it every day. And so we've had really good communication. He is a text kind of guy, which has worked great for me because then I don't have to answer the phone so much. But we have had some really good communication up to yesterday evening while I was standing choosing the flooring and asking him questions while I was there. So it's the communication, it's the caring, it's the knowing that he's going to be here. He's under COVID isolation right at the moment. I'm not sure if he has it or someone he knew had it, but he can't come out for another week. So we can't schedule it exactly till I get the product and he gets that. But it's been a pleasure dealing with him up to this point.
Right. And one of the things that turned us on of why this guy was several months ago, our lower level of our home was flooded. So this was actually the sub that the general contractor brought in to do the flooring. And what we saw here was a guy, they did an excellent job. It's done an excellent. We had one little spot showed up and he came here, took care of that problem. And while he was here doing that, we said, okay, listen, we've got 3 rooms up in the stairs that we need to do something with. Can you want to price these? And sure, he went up there, measured them out, told him what we wanted. And now he's delivering, because the thing is, this is her avenue, not mine. Once she finds out, hey, I'm good with her doing this, that's her project now. I don't deal with it from that point. She deals with it. So Brandy, the same way, you're getting ready to have your master bedroom, you said, just remodeled. And to be honest with you, a bedroom is kind of a sacred area of the home. Would you agree? I mean, if somebody's
Absolutely.
I mean, seriously, your bedroom, because you're going to have to relocate, sleep in a different room, and it's not going to be as comfortable. And I know how valuable sleep is for you. There's some one thing you don't want to do is deprive that young lady of her sleep, because she ain't nice when she don't get rest. Okay, so you got to step carefully. So how has this guy managed your journey? Because you're definitely an enthused customer, Brandy. What did he do that's so special to rate being able to come into the most private area of your home?
Yeah, so this will actually be our fifth and sixth projects with him. We just got very, very lucky. And when we remodeled the Flues Brothers Overland Park office, we brought in a designer, and she said, well, I have a contractor, you can use him. And he was phenomenal. And keep in mind that we had remodeled other major parts of our house prior to this and used a couple different contractors, or went through a couple different to even find the right one. And it was like your typical contractors, we can start maybe in 8 weeks. And then 8 weeks came, we can maybe start in, another 4 weeks. And then you were lucky if they started on that day. And then they would tell you it would take, 9 weeks to complete. And 15 weeks later, you were finally finishing up. This particular contractor, Robert's his name, he gives you a bid. The bid doesn't change. He starts on the day, he gives you a start date, and he is in your driveway at 7 a.m. on the start date. He tells you it's going to take however many days, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, depending on the project. And he finishes on the day he says he's going to finish. It's incredible. And to take it a step further, after we did that Blues Brothers Overland Park office, the laundry room is right next door. And so I'll say, I don't know, 3 weeks after the project, the washer started leaking. And I noticed that it was leaking up through the floor of the office. And it was a brand new floor. So I called him just to ask him, like, hey, how do I handle the floor? Like, should I just dry it? Should I put a fan? What should I do? Because keep in mind, he had nothing to do with the washer. He didn't touch the washer. He didn't touch the laundry room. This was nothing of his ado. He had nothing to do with this. And he said, give me a couple hours and I'll be over there. And I said, oh, no, Robert, you're misunderstanding me. I know this has nothing to do with you. I just want to know how to take care of the floor. And he said, no, water's an emergency. I'll be over. He was at my door within 2 hours, pulling up the flooring because it was a laminate flooring, bringing in industrial size fans to dry everything out, and told us he'd be back in, I think it was 5 days to collect the fans. Never charged us anything for it. I try to pay him in baked goods because he loves baked goods when he goes the extra mile. But it was just him going that extra mile that he had no reason to have to do that. It had nothing to do with his fault. But he went that extra mile. And so, the master bedroom doesn't need to be remodeled. Yes, it would be nice, but it's not like a need. But as my husband said, we've finally found a contractor that is amazing, that provides excellent customer service, that goes above and beyond. And so we feel like we want to get as many projects done as we can before we lose him, because he is getting up there in age and he's having the same problem that we're all having. He's having problems finding people that can help him, and that he can teach the contracting trade, and that they can help him carry the materials out of the house. So I don't know how much longer he's going to be around.
Right. So this sounds like a guy that is not going to hire substandard people to work in his company. And that's one of his big challenges, as we all know. That's what all of our clients face right now, is finding this workforce, because that's one of the things. If you've got a workforce that cannot deliver on the customer promise, you're going to have an issue here. So in a little bit, we're going to talk about how a contractor becomes Bill's unenthused customer share. We're going to talk a little bit about the tale of two contractors in this today. But Brandy, let's say that one of the ladies in your office answers the phone today, and you've got a brand new customer calling you. You've never done business with them in the past. And I know that one of your things is that in your office, job one is to answer the telephone. But not only that, job one also includes enthusing that customer. Would I be correct? So how important is that initial phone call?
It's everything. I probably upset a lot of technicians when I go in and consult with offices, because I say the most important part is the office. Because if that office person can't book that phone call, then the technicians don't have any work. Nobody has any work. So they are the most important person. They are the first impression. And yes, I say the phones always come first, with the exception of if you're like us and have a brick and mortar building, if there's a customer standing in front of you, then obviously they're the priority. Outside of that, that phone is the priority. And so it's really important that we set ourselves apart from everybody else out there. So one of the things I often recommend to clients is to, what do I call it? Ghost calling. I don't think I call it something shopping, but basically you're shopping your competition where they don't know that it's you. So you're using like a friend's cell phone or whatever, and you're calling and pretending to be a customer, and you're hearing, number one, do they answer the phone? Number two, is it the owner answering the phone and he's on a roof, or is it somebody in the office? Number three, what questions are they asking you to determine to give you the right pricing? What is their pricing? Number four, if you're setting up an appointment, what are they doing to confirm that appointment with you and follow up with you? So there's so many important steps along the way. And you can't just be a robot. And I always brag on Madison in my office because she's really good about this. I tell her that you've probably heard me say this before, I'm always worried about her because I'm afraid that she's going to be mugged and murdered because she's just so nice to everybody. And like literally you can call and say hi, and before you get off the phone, she will know who you're married to, how many children you have. She'll know like your whole life story. She's just really good at jumping in there and creating a connection with the customer. And that's so important because we're asking them a lot of information, which is honestly impressive to them because they've just called 4 other companies that haven't asked them any questions. And now they're like, well, gosh, these people are really into details. And then at the same time, while we're looking up information to find them a date on the calendar, whatever, we're asking, hey, how's your day going? Or just making small talk with them. I find when my technicians call in to book work with the customer, while I'm printing out the bid and looking for dates, I always hear them in the background just making small talk with the customer about their living room furniture or about the cat or about the dog, because it's not about just being a robot. You have to make that connection with the customer.
Okay, so it's all about we're making this connection with the customer. We're getting a relationship built at this point. So Cheryl, how important is it that when this phone call is answered, that the person answering the phone can understand the behavior patterns of that person calling? I mean, Brandy just said something about Madison. Madison learns this about people and that. At the same time, someone with a patience level of a high D personality, how well do we deal with that person that wants to know our life story? And so from that standpoint, how important is success in being able to gauge that customer's behavior pattern?
It's extremely, it's hard. But the thing is, if you don't, then you're going to push your customer away right there on that initial call. Because as you said, high D's, like we all sit this same seat. We want a short phone call. We really don't want you to ask about our dogs exactly. I mean, it's nice if you do, and I think it's sweet, but we're more business-like. We want to burn through the answers that we need to do, get the project started, and move on. Where other people, they like that contact. You've got to pick it up in the first couple sentences that these people say. If you don't, you can literally talk them out of job. I've seen that happen more than once by just going on and on and on, and the person's getting tired, and the person on the other end is rolling their eyes back. And by the time you get to the initial, what can I do for you? You've done lost their track.
Right. And I'll second that. I've seen people, I've been in their offices, and I used to classify it as they're actually talking the customer out of doing business with them, because the customer is calling and wanting this done. They need to know when, need to know where. So what I'm saying here, Cheryl, is if you become adept at reading behavior patterns, you can actually determine what that customer's behavior pattern is that is most successful. Would that be correct?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing it for a while, but in about the first 30 seconds, I can pinpoint how I need to speak with that person, sometimes less. And I can take them. I have dealers. You deal with more customers. I deal with a dealer base. And I have to be aware of their behavior patterns, or I'm not going to answer their questions like I should. And the guy that's a high S&C thinks I've cut him off and I'm not going to tell him what he's going to do. Or if he's a high D, I've got to talk to him like that's the way he wants to be talked to. So I don't oversell myself. And I have to be real careful, because that's one of the hardest things that a D personality can do, is sit here and carry on a very long conversation with people. We won't just pop it through. That's why Brandy is so lucky to have all four, the DISC in her office, because actually if one can't deal with the customer, the other one can. And sometimes it's better to hand it off because you're not in their personality RAM.
Correct. Okay, so Brandy, we've enthused the customer. We've convinced them to do business with us, maybe based on our reviews, but a lot of it's going to be based on that phone call, to be honest with you. I'm going to make my decision. Can I trust these people? That's what it's all about. A lot of times people say, well, how much does this cost? How much does that cost? Why do they ask that question? I've always taught in all my classes, they don't know what else to ask you. They don't know how to ask you, are you good people? Are you people I want in my house? Are you people, just like in your remodeling project, are you a company that I want in the most sanctify us, or whatever the word is, place in my home, a most private place? Are you that kind of company? Because that's what customers are doing. They are inviting you into their home. So Brandy, we've done that. What's the next step before we arrive on the job site? We're sending the service crew in. Do we just, okay, we've done it, we're done at this point, then we show up at the house? Or is there anything between those 2 points to build that enthused customer?
There's actually a lot in between those 2 points, believe it or not. The first one happens to be in your documentation. So you've given the customer the date, they've agreed upon that. You need to make detailed notes to your technician so that they know exactly what the customer's main concern is. So for example, if the customer's main concern is, I had one this morning actually that I booked, and her main concern was she wanted to make sure that the chimney's sealed up so mice can't get in. She lives in an old farmhouse. She said all of her traps are full of mice, which just, ooh. So she wants a cleaning and inspection. Now, if I just told the technician that she wants a cleaning and inspection, or if I said that her concern is mice, but they went in and just completely glazed over that, we have not provided her a good customer service, because we didn't deal with what she called in for. What was her main concern? So a lot of it starts in the documentation. And, I teach this in classes. And so you both have heard me say it before. Also just documenting the little details, like they have, little kids in the background. So maybe take coloring books, or they said their dog's name is Rufus. Whatever those small details are. And this is where your CRM comes in really helpful. A lot of our clients use Service Titan. So that way, when that customer calls next year, all that information is going to pop up for you. And you can say, oh, how are the kids doing? Did they enjoy the coloring books we brought for them last year? And that means so much to the customer, that you are making them feel like family. You're making them feel special. You remembered something unique about them. That goes miles and miles away. So once we've done the documentation, then the next thing is we want to send them a confirmation. We want to communicate. And I always say you cannot over communicate. It just doesn't happen. So we want to make sure that however that is for us, we actually send them a text communication. For some people, it's confirmation through a different system. Whatever your system is, we want to make sure that they're getting in writing the date and time we told them. Because again, then that makes them feel secure. Like, okay, I did write that down right because I've got it here on this text. And then we don't want to stop there. We want to remind them the day before their appointment, especially if you're like me, because I have 100 things on my calendar and I'm likely to forget. So I appreciate when I get that reminder on my phone. Oh, that's right, I have that appointment tomorrow. And we want to ask them to confirm. And if we don't hear back from them, we want to call them, because maybe they've been out of cell service all day and never saw the message. But we want to make sure that they know we're coming. And we also want to give them more details about us coming. So for example, in our company, we let them know the technician's going to call you and give you about a 30 minutes heads up. Right now, we have a ton of people working from home. They have to be on conference calls. So the worst thing we can do is show up and they're in the middle of a conference call and can't come answer the door, or they come and answer the door and they're annoyed. So we want to give them that heads up. Our system automatically sends them a text that shows them we're en route. It actually has where they can actually track the technician driving to their house. and it sends them a picture of the technician. And that picture thing goes so far, especially for our women clients. I find they just think that is the coolest thing. And safety wise, it just gives them such a sense of safety that they're going to know who to look for at their front door. And along that point, showing up in a lettered truck, because if you show up in a Camry with some ladders on top, as a customer told me about happened to them, they're not going to be very confident. But if you show up in a nice lettered truck with your company logo on it that looks professional, that's going to go ahead and improve their experience with us.
Okay. So Cheryl, from a customer standpoint, like I said, what happens between, okay, let's talk about the flooring guy. Okay. So what happens between the time that he accepts the job, or you accept it, we're ready to go, everything's been picked out. Are you satisfied if that guy just shows up knocking on the door that day, or is there anything you expect between those 2 points?
I expect a date that he's coming. Number one, a definite date. Then I'm one of these, I like that 30-minute phone call before you get there. I mean, I know who's coming. He doesn't need to send me a photo. I've got this part down. But yeah, don't just show up at my door. I'm not good at it. Now, I will tell you, our phone company kind of overdoes it. We get one an hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes out, and then he's 20 minutes late. But other than that, I like that communication. I like knowing when he's going to get here, because I'm on Zooms all day long, literally. And yeah, you can't just stop one, because mine are being recorded. And by recording them, if I get someone in, and I have 2 puppies sitting over here that go ballistic at the doorbell. So during this recording time, I cannot have that doorbell go off. And I have actually had guys that I know they've coming, and I said, just text me and I'll let you know when you can come in. That means so much.
So what I'm hearing is respect for your time, showing this documentation, knowing the details about the customer, preparing your guys where they have empathies for the mice issue we just talked about, Brandy, where they understand it. Don't go in the house making fun of that customer's concern with the mice, because you can just see how Brandy's face turned up at the thought of mice all over your house. I have a feeling the Biswells will be buying a new house if that occurred out there. It just wouldn't be a good situation. So now the guy's knocking on the door, Cheryl. Now you're the customer. What are you expecting at this point where a guy will simply amaze you from the moment he walks in the door to entice you to continue to do business, or wish you had never contacted that company?
What I'm looking for is somebody neatly dressed. I know they're working. They're a field serviceman, if that's what they're doing. I don't expect a suit and tie, but I do expect, a lettered shirt, a hat, something that gives me that guarantee. They need to have stepped back away from the door. Most ladies have their space and they don't like it invaded. So I like them to have taken a step back. I don't want them carrying a big armful of stuff like they're going to invade my house. Either lay it down or don't bring it to the door. I want them to come in with respect to my house. We have hardwood floors. If it's muddy, put the booties on. Take your shoes off. I'm operative either way, but I'm looking for a professional person. If you come in as some jackleg, I'm not going to let you in my door.
Okay. So I got another question for you. Let's say that we both are in the room when this company comes in, and this company sees us both, and they talk to me and act like you don't exist. How does that sit with you?
It doesn't sit well at all. And to be honest, and you've seen me do it, I'll just turn around and walk out. And then you have to call me back, because I'm the one that's going to have to give the decision on the particular thing that we're doing. And I hope it embarrasses them. That's exactly what I'd like to do. But yeah, it doesn't sit well with me at all. Now, neither do I think they need to talk to me and not talk to you. But if we're making a joint decision, it's a joint conversation.
Right. What I'm talking about, respect for you as the owner of this home, just like I am, that type of thing. And, commonly we will even tell people it's like, this is her decision. You explain that to her. This is what she handles. I don't handle it. It's whatever she wants. I'm fine with it from that concern. That's the way we run our lives. If it comes to the outside, that's mine. If it's inside, we pretty well go with your decisions. So, Brandy, how do you train your technicians that are going into homes to do this? What's some of the key things you would share if you were talking to a group of technicians of how to make Mrs. Eisenhower happy? Because Miss Eisenhower is not an unusual person out there.
Not at all. And she touched on a lot of the points. Some things that I would add: don't show up smelling like cigarette smoke. Because if you're someone like me that has a lot of allergies, that's an immediate turn off to me. I can't even stand to be like 10 feet away from you. So don't show up smelling like that. Come in, lay down drop cloths. Make sure that you're assuring me that you are going to protect my space and keep my house clean. And then, we teach them to make small talk with the customer again. Find something right at the beginning to compliment them on, whether it be, oh, that's a nice sofa, or petting the dog and how old is he, or I saw your K-State flag out there. Did you see that game last weekend? Whatever it may be, find something to connect with them on besides chimneys. Then the next thing is let me as the customer know the expectations. So for example, if you need me at the end to go over the findings, I need to know that, because otherwise I'm running back down to my office because I have other calls to do and I have other things to do. So if you need me at some particular point, I need to know that. If you're going to be going out and in, I need to know that. And I need to be able to give you some instructions on not leaving the door wide open so that all the dogs don't go running out. So just again, communicating with that customer, it all goes back to your appearance and communication.
Okay. So we're moving right along here. So Brandy, here's the next question for you. We've completed the job that we were contracted for. And as in this particular case, there's nothing else that this customer needs that we provide. Everything's good. We've done our maintenance. We've tuned up the gas logs. We've serviced the gas appliance, whatever it is. And we walk out, at the end of this, we leave. Is that when the communication stops? Or what happens after that point? Now, remember, we're not into a sales situation. We are just in customer satisfaction and building those enthused customers.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I would let them know what your process is. So, for example, if I'm the technician, I'm leaving, and I know that I follow up with every customer in 3 days, for example, then let the customer know, it's been a pleasure meeting you today. I'm going to follow up with you in 3 days and just make sure that you haven't thought of any additional questions since I left. Or the office is going to follow up with you in about a week and just make sure that you are satisfied with the service. See if you've thought of any additional questions now that you've had an opportunity to talk to your husband. So letting them know that you're going to be calling, or whatever you're going to be doing, you're going to be sending them a review link, whatever the case may be, so that they're not blindsided or annoyed by that.
Okay. So Cheryl, what turns you on about a company after they've done a good job? They've left here. They fixed, let's just give an example. They fixed the ice maker. Do you ever want to hear from them again? Or what would endear them to you that they knew they liked you as a customer and wanted to do further business with you?
As Brandy just spoke there, just come back, just ask me a question later on. Do I have any more questions? Is it working as it's supposed to? Do I need to maybe pop over and do anything? There's not a whole lot with a ice maker, but if it was a bigger product that I had worked on. But yeah, it's really nice, and I don't mind at that point telling them, no, I'm fine. Or if there is a question, it gives you a chance without having to call them and ask them what you consider might be a dumb question. It kind of opens the door for you to ask it, and it alleviates a lot of the problems and the thoughts that you might have in your mind. Or it actually might be the thing that protects your product, where it's the service that he did was good and stays good.
Got you covered. So, one of the things is, and a lot of times, I think people think that we work and our job is to build large companies. Our job working one-on-one with clients is to help them build the company that they see fits them. That's one of the identification things. It's not where we want to take you. But all the things we're talking about, as you were talking, both of you, I thought about this, this is our friend Scott McCain. And he wrote a book, and the title of it is Iconic. And what it's about is how organization and leaders attain, sustain, and regain the ultimate level of distinction. And that's what this is all about, is actually no matter what you do in business, it's where you build a business of distinction. And when I say distinction of that, Brandy, what comes to your mind in small business America to become that business of distinction?
I think it's not having to pay for any advertising, because you've done such a great job that that person wants to tell all of their friends and family about what a great experience they had. I think next door neighbor is in most cities and states now. And I love to get on there and read, because your neighbors will let you know if they had a phenomenal experience or if they had a horrific experience. And they want to talk about it and they want people to comment about it. So I love to go through and read those. I think I'll give an example. I'm going to say it was 2 weeks ago. Lady called up. I answered the phone. She had just called our friendly competition in town. She thought they might be a little too expensive, so they told her to call us. We were actually $10 higher than them, which she let me know. And I told her, I said, you can't go wrong with either company. Whichever you choose, you're not going to go wrong. They're our friendly competition. We refer people to them because we know we can trust them, and vice versa. And she said, okay, well, let me think about it, and I'll probably call back. She called back and booked with us, even though we were $10 higher. But I think, again, it was because I made that connection with her, and I showed her that I'm not trying to tell you, why we're the best or why you need to use us. I'm telling you that particular company, now it would have been a different story if it was a different company, that particular company, you're going to get great service whether you use them or us. And she really appreciated that. Mm-hmm. Jerry, if I could tell one more story. Sure. Last week, we got a cashier's check from a customer, which should never have any problems, but for whatever reason, this check had problems depositing. And so we were going to the customer's bank, we were going to our bank, and it was just becoming very, very frustrating. And Sydney at our bank, who was a teller, she's been there probably less than a year. She took it up on herself to become our advocate and spent 2 to 3 days on the phone all day long, calling like headquarters for their branch, headquarters for the customer's branch, doing everything she could, calling us 2 to 3 times a day to give us an update so that we could get this situation resolved. I was blown away. I sent her flowers last week and said, please, please, please let me know who your boss is so that I can let them know about what a great experience we had, because that's rare. Most people would just be like, well, I don't know, you have to figure it out on your own. And she went so far and above. I will never forget that.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me to say that word. And Brandy said she got so tired of me hearing say this years ago, but that's a phenomenal experience right there. That's the meaning of the word phenomenal. Cheryl, what makes a company, in Scott McCain's words, iconic?
You're the company that stands out in front of others. You have serviced them to the nth degree and gone one step farther. You're the company that when you think of a plumber, a chimney service, or whatever, you're the company that people think of. And your prices are not the factor that works into it. It's your customer service, the people, the quality of the people you have, the job you do. And you always take that extra step. Just kind of like one of our friends think, the one more thing, just do one more thing. And to me, that's where your iconic comes in, is when you are at the top of any chain that's out there.
Okay, so what we're doing is we're having great communication. We're answering the phones. We are communicating in a way that's friendly. We're showing empathy. We're getting to know our customers. We're communicating what needs to be done. all the way through, right through to the end, and doing everything we need to do. Now, this isn't about sales today. We could actually take this into a different direction and we could talk about sales follow-ups, but that's not what I'm talking about here. The subject of the day is how to make yourself memorable to your customers, to where you stand out, to where your brand is widely recognized. I got a really good friend by the name of Tim Davis, and Tim is a branding coach in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry. And he said something one day. He said, "Your brand is what people say when you're not around. That's brand. That's where you've got to work." And if you get to that point, and Taylor Hill at Spark Market even told me, some people have built their brand to the point that if they shut their Facebook down, they're still going to be okay. Brandy, that's what you and Jeremy have built at this point. You've built a brand in Kansas City that is now known far and wide. You're out there and people go for it. So Cheryl, let's look at it from another side. What makes a company non-memorable? What makes them not iconic? Let's go in. Recently, we had two separate contractors do two different jobs. And you and I even did a broadcast on it, a tale of two contractors. What made the one contractor the pits that you will never allow him even on the property in the future?
Well, before I say that, I'm going to say one thing. You are rememberable, whether you do bad or good. Actually, you're probably talked about more if you do bad than if you do good. But yeah, we had the tale of two contractors. The first one came in when the basement flooded. He came in like Brandy's contractor. He told us what he was going to do. He did it. Everything stayed except for the change orders we made. The bid was exact. He got done. He cleaned up. I mean, he did an immaculate job. On the other hand, while we were doing this, we found out that we had a leak upstairs, and he wasn't available to do that because of other jobs, and we needed someone, we thought, fairly fast. So we hired another guy that really, I'm glad he thought a lot about himself, because he was probably by the end of this job the only one that did. And he did nothing. In fact, about 2/3 of the way through the job, that was probably about 6 weeks overtime at this point, we just literally ran him off the property. And I took the subs that he was using and finished the job myself. I mean, I could have GC'd it as good as he was doing it. So, yeah, have I talked about him? Yeah, just about as much as I've talked about the good guy too, because when people asked about him, I'm sorry, I'm not going to recommend anybody that I wouldn't have back in my house again.
That's it. So anything that you ladies would add to this? Brandy, what about you? Is there anything else? Any more stories? Yeah, of course, go ahead.
I always have stories. A couple weeks ago, we had to get our trees trimmed, and we had to have one tree taken down. And Jeremy was so impressed by this company. They were there all day. They worked hard. They did a good job. It was very hot out. However, the day after they left, I noticed out in the backyard, there were 2 water bottles. And so an empty water bottle just in the yard. And so that kind of put doubt in my mind. It just upset me a little bit, because here we were bragging and thinking they were such a great company, and they were, and they did do a good job on the trees, but it was just that tiny little mistake of leaving these empty water bottles in our yard that really bugged me and didn't make it a phenomenal experience for me, to use your word, Jerry. The other thing I would say, one of my favorite things to do in the winter, and my husband taught me this trick, is people call, and so we're charging $359 for a chimney sweep, and they're like, well, I just called Chuck in a truck and he's charging $160, so what's the difference? So sometimes I'll go into my elevator speech about what all the differences are, but the more fun thing to do is to say, I'll tell you what, call that company back. I know they're not going to answer the phone. Just leave a message. Don't say your name or anything. Just say you're a previous customer and you're having troubles with the work that they did, and could they give you a call back? And see if they call you back. Then call our company. Now you're going to have to call us after hours, because we're going to answer the phone. So wait till after hours, call and leave the same message, and see how quickly we call you back.
Yeah.
100% of the time, those people book.
Yep. So, Cheryl, what about you? Anything to add in this subject matter?
The main thing I've got to add to the subject, if you are going into someone's home, present yourself the best way you can, do the best job you can do, and clean up, like Brandy said. Take your stuff with you, because that one little thing can be the one piece that just really messes it up. Did it do anything wrong to the job that they did? No. But does it do anything mentally to the person? Yes, it does.
Okay. So this is how you manage the customer journey. Now, one thing we're really proud of here is we try to manage our client journey as best we can. In fact, earlier this week, we sent out an email to both of the coaching groups that we have saying, hey, is this meeting your expectation? How can you do it better? And to be honest with you, Brandy, we've got some really good input. In fact, we're making some changes right now based on the input of what these people have told us, because it was some really great ideas. But we only got that because we asked what they needed. But today we got something new we're going to share with you. And this is the first time we're announcing it. And we had to make sure that everybody was bought in that's on this call to doing it. So Brandy, I'm going to let you share what we're rolling out right now that you're going to start seeing some promotions about.
Yeah, so since these two groups have been going so great, I guess word is getting out, and we've been contacted by other people that want to be in a group. They want somehow to use our services. And so we don't ever want to say no to those people. We won't put them in the two groups that are existing, because those groups are full and they've already created their own bonds together. So we are rolling out a third group coaching that will be starting. So this will be a brand new group that we will fill up with all new people who are interested.
Right. Cheryl, what would you share about the benefits of our CBC group coaching?
Well, it gives people a chance to hear problems of the other people, to realize that your problem is probably everyone else's problem also. We find out that a lot of the answers that the people in the group are getting are not just from us, but they're coming from their peers that are in the group. And as Brandy said, it's more realistic because they're having that problem. And Brandy has a business, I have a business, and I hear things in there. It's like, that's a pretty good idea for me. So we're pretty good, but we don't know all of it. And so we kind of put it out. We have a Facebook page for each group where they can ask in off times. They can call us with what we call our 911 calls. And so it's turned out to be so good. And these people have started communicating amongst themselves. And I think that's what's so miraculous about doing a group coach.
Right. So what group coaching involves is one a month, we have what we call a group call. Now, on the group call, all three of us are on the call unless one of us is unavailable because of travel schedules, because Brandy goes in the field, I go in the field. But what happens here is one of us leads the call. So we actually lay it out. And, Brandy, I think you led the one that we did just this past week. Cheryl, you lead some of them I lead. It doesn't mean we don't offer our input into this. But what we go through is we try to work out the challenges. So that's one thing that's going on. Number two, just like they mentioned, you have us to reach out to. And that can be as a single to one of us, or we've had several people that have asked for the three of us to be on a joint Zoom call with them, which we've done that, dealing with a specific issue that they've got. We've also had an extra call set up because we had a lot of people in one group that was working with Service Titan. So we had a work session one day with these people. Now, another thing we're seeing here is several companies have enrolled their general managers into this, which is really helping these general managers. In fact, I told two ladies that were in it that are in a GM role that, hey, you two ladies are soul sisters because you have such similarities. But I mean, it was like this week, you actually had a conversation with someone, Brandy, about the challenges within the business and how you move there. So you're going to start seeing this coming out. And if we take a maximum of 20 companies, listen carefully, 20 companies into the group. And a company means that you could have several of your leadership people into this group if you wanted to do that, where they're going through it. They're also going to be able to participate in what we call our monthly presentation call. Because one of the things that we try to do at CBC is once a month, we set up a call with our one-on-one clients and all of our group people, and we bring in what we call an outside subject matter expert. And in these calls, we have had phenomenal people, and we've got other people coming in. We've had guests such as Larry Wingate, Scott McCain, Randy Pennington, Tommy Mello, Glenn Morshower. This is like a star-studded cast of people that come in. I mean, Brandy, how valuable is that call every month that we do on that?
Oh, it's my favorite part, because these are typically people outside of our industry, but they understand the challenges because really all businesses, no matter what we're doing, we all have the same challenges, and so they bring so much insight to the group, and they're so giving of their time, and they let us ask them questions. And these are people that normally you would pay big bucks to sit down and talk with, or to have present at a conference or something for you. And these people just open up to us and let us ask whatever we want.
Right. And it's like we're going to do a future broadcast. We have found a gold nugget for hiring that we introduced to this group, and we have introduced it to our clients. We're going to be rolling the broadcast in about a month. But Cheryl, do you think we have shared what I'm going to call a secret sauce for hiring at this point?
Most of my clients have moved to this platform. I think Brandy's gone live. I think she said today. I have my company on it, and I'm starting to see an upper echelon of people coming in as opposed to just running one ad somewhere, because they book on many platforms. So it's giving a much more diversified group of people. And it's got a little bit of a learning curve, but I've got 7 different companies on it right at the moment.
Okay. So anyway, we are opening this up. It will close. We will have a maximum of membership of 20 companies in here. And so that this is an interest, if group coaching is something that you think could be beneficial to you, I would highly encourage you to reach out to one of us. You see our email addresses on the screen right now. We'll tell you how it works. We do require a 1-year commitment. Okay. You don't come into this and say, hey, I'll try it for a month. We do it because you got to come in. You got to be a participant. You got to be working at this. But I think this is a significant program for people to look at to help them build the business of their dreams. Brandy, anything you want to add to this?
I love group coaching. I've said it 100 times before. Private coaching is wonderful, and you definitely make gigantic strides, but it's expensive and it's time consuming, and not everybody can afford to do it. Group coaching is much more affordable, and especially if you're in the industry and you're wanting to get to know other companies, maybe you're new, maybe you've been around a long time. It's such a great group of cohorts that you can learn from and create long-lasting relationships that long after group coaching ends, you can reach out to them and contact them. And the other thing that I like is, they always say it's lonely at the top, and that is so, so true. And so oftentimes we're having a bad day, a technician's broke a tool, somebody hasn't showed up, whatever the case may be. And we just feel like we're the only one that has this problem. And through group coaching, you get to see that you are not unique, you are not special. We all have these problems, but we can also all learn from each other how to better deal with them.
Yeah. Cheryl, anything you want to add in about group coaching and the benefit of it?
I think one of the huge benefits is the age diversification of people we have in there. We have younger gentlemen that are coming in as a second or third generation that are there that give us the views of the millennial group or the group after them. Then we have the people like us that have been in it way too long, that have a lot of knowledge, but it's changed so much in our lifetime. And we're able to help from two entirely different directions. In fact, at one of our group coaching calls, one of the younger gentlemen spoke up, and it was like it just amazed everybody there that the questions that he asked were so pertinent, but to his age group. And so it gives you that right to left that you can't do if you're just doing a one-on-one. You're getting that person's opinion and what they've learned. But if you can have 20 companies plus the three of us, that's 23 different directions that you can get an implementation from.
That's it. Well, here's the whole thing. I hope that today's subject matter is helpful to you. It was all about that customer journey and how to manage that customer journey and make it where you turn people into enthused customers, where you turn them into loyal customers, where you turn them into where people like Brandy and Cheryl keep engaging your services because you exceeded or you met but exceeded their expectations. Keeping in mind, all it takes is 2 little water bottles to turn somebody's doubts. You just heard it. 2 little water bottles, and it's the little things that can really make a difference. So you've got to be on to this, and it's part of the systems you develop for your business. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us this week. As always, it's truly an honor. It's a privilege. It's a pleasure for you to take some time out of your week to listen to our concepts. We are CBC Success Group. If we can help you at any time, you see our email addresses on the screen. Reach out to any one of us. It doesn't cost you a dime to reach out. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if we can help you get to where you're wanting to go. So many people know what the problems are. They just can't build that strategy to get to where they want to go. And that's what we're going to help you do. Okay. So we'll see you next week. Appreciate you joining us here on the Chimney and